Welcome to the amazing digital hell, and this time my thumbnails actually come true because our characters are gonna go to hell this time. So, start of the episode, we see everyone bunched up together next to some couches. Pomni is trying to hold her breath because they can't die of oxygen deprivation, so they're trying to figure out what happens because apparently different things happen to different people when they hold their breath. With Pomni, she gets a hue shift that gets faster and faster the longer she holds her breath. With Kinger, he starts to glow, Ragatha's hair starts to spike up, and Gangle's mask starts to spin. Zubal's limbs start to stiffen up, and we don't know what Jax does because he just refuses to tell anyone. Caine interrupts them talking to each other and just actually hanging out for once, to then force upon them an adventure called The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor. They're forced to go into a haunted mansion where everyone's just like being them casual selves, not really thinking about much, when a ghost pops out and scares Pomni. Her eyes just pop out and she can't get him back in. The ghost explains doors to the left and right. Doors to the left is meant for kids, and the doors to the right is meant for Zubal only. But, you know, Zubal being Zubal, they just didn't even show up to this at all, because why not? Jax grabs Gangle's mask and throws it to the right door after setting up the ghost in his vacuum cleaner that he stole. This of course makes Gangle sad as all hell because Jax just likes being an asshole. Kinger decides to go after it, but while also doing that, he grabs onto Pomni's eyes, and so they both go into a very creepy door, and everyone else just decides to venture into the normal and calm door. After they go into these doors, Caine finds Zubal and just decides to try and talk to Zubal about why they're not even trying on going to these adventures that he apparently works so hard to make. Zubal tells him again because he apparently keeps on forgetting. Zubal hates herself. She can't find something she likes. She can't find a body that she likes. And to be honest, I just think the problem is that their ability to swap out body parts, if they just had something permanent, then they would be forced to get used to it and actually start to like it. Going to Kinger and Pomni, they get thrown into this old British style like home, and they see heads of their friends mounted on a wall, and also a giant creepy pale head thing whose eyes are unlined right, and that kind of annoys me. Kinger plays a audio tape that he sees, and we hear about a person named Baron Theodore Mildenhall, and so we can see that this is his manor that he owns. He tells us that the pale head that's been mounted on his wall, he was chasing for years, like literal years of his life, and he just says that it's a monster who he's dedicated his entire life to just hunting down for the protection of his family because he'd never get peace without it. Audio tape ends, and Kinger and Pomni find this weird elevator thing, and they realize that it's locked, so they have to go into a dark door to then find the key. Pomni goes in there, finds the key, and Kinger plays a tape that jump scares Pomni, and it explains that, it explains somewhat of what the monster is, and that it's hard to kill, and to never leave it out of your sight. And so that, of course, is exactly what they did, because they were forced into going into the room. So while this happens, all the lights in that room just turn off, and this is when Kinger apparently starts thinking normally. He still acts a big cuckoo, but apparently the darkness helps him. Kinger helps Pomni because apparently she doesn't like the dark, and so they go out and they see that the monster in fact is alive and is actively chasing them. The head from the wall comes off and we see its rows of shark teeth, and it scares the ever-living shit out of Pomni, and Kinger is just amazed by it. He looks into the mouth of it and he says, quote, "You look beautiful, honey." Back with Caine and Zubul, and they're talking about how Caine is definitely using his adventures to torture his people, because he says that he, just like any good war criminal, all the torment he inflicts is absolutely unintentional. Zubul decides to finally tell Caine that no one really gives a shit about his adventures because Ragatha's too nice, Jax is just fucking around, Gangle's too shy to tell her anything, Kinger's insane, and Pomni is just traumatized. Caine, after hearing this, just starts glitching everywhere, and this becomes extremely unsettling because, the entire digital circus is collapsing. But then he stops himself because he goes off topic and he just goes back to the therapy session idea. Back with Pomni and Kinger, they find the dried husk of Baron Mildenhall, and they play the audio tape. Apparently got so paranoid of this monster that he shot his own wife, and so he's down here in a wine cellar with a loaded shotgun to try and protect himself and try and take down the monster because, he thinks he's gonna die. Pomni goes and grabs the shotgun. She gives it to Kinger, who looks at it. It's a double-barrel shotgun and it has 2 shots. And the body of the monster comes out, and it's of course missing its head, while the head is also coming from the side. So now Kinger has to focus on, hitting both of his shots. He does so successfully, but the audio then starts playing without them even interacting with it, and it says that apparently the monster is one of God's angels, and so anyone who has shot it will go directly into hell. He also says that he needed a living host, so the next breath they take will be their last. So after Pomni and Kinger literally get dragged into hell, we cut to Ragatha, Gangle, and Jax, who is tied up in a corner, and everyone else is just having a good tea party. They talk to the wife of Baron Mildenhall, who is just kind of calm about everything. They just have a nice tea party. And Ragatha, Gangle, and Jax just go outside because that's all they really needed to do. And Kinger just says, "Congratulations, you're done," but we kind of do have to wait for the others. Pomni is rightfully losing her mind because, you're literally in hell. What the fuck? This can't get worse. Kinger says that Caine would have definitely had a way to escape all of this, and so they see a quarter called the Hall of the Damned. Kinger grabs one of his eyes and just throws it out there. He says that he sees an exit. Pomni decides to rush in, and this is when she gets her entire body possessed. Kinger drags the body back into where he currently is and has to beat the demon literally out of Pomni. And the demon just says, "How's your wife, Kinger?" And so, for you guys, you could just guess that Kinger had a wife who was within the circus who probably attracted, and that's probably why he said, "You look beautiful, honey," to the angel, because that was mesmerizing to him, and that also reminded him of his wife. Pomni just continues her mental breakdown, but apparently Kinger is sane again. He decides to tell her a story about his wife, who used to really like entomology, and who also used to be part of the circus. And the day his wife abstracted is the day that I think Caine probably purposely put this on him to make sure that he stays sane, because he's probably one of his favorites. So in the darkness, when he was alone with his wife, who abstracted into a monster, he found peace in that she wasn't attacking him, and also the sharp edges just calmed down in the dark. And so this is why whenever he's in the dark, he'll remember things, but he also says that he doesn't have that much power over his memories anymore. So either he has dementia, or Caine has purposely removed his memories from him to make sure that he stays sane forever, because like I said, he's probably one of his favorites. Caine figures out what they need to do, and it's just not breathe. Pomni was still having trouble with it at the start because she feels like she's gonna die. Caine just says, "Just try not thinking about it," and so he holds Pomni's hand and they walk out there together, and that works. So they manage to get out of hell and they meet the others. Kinger just already lost his memories because why not? Kinger says that I think Pomni was brave or whatever. Jax is still tied up, and so they're just chatting for a bit. Kinger forgot to get Gangle's mask, so he's like, fuck. And so they go back into the main hall. Back with Caine and Zubul. Zubul is now being a therapist, and nothing has really changed except for the appearance of Bubble, so yay. Caine just says that, oh look, everyone's done, so let's just go. Jax gets untied and talks to Pomni for a bit, saying how is it like with Kinger. Pomni just says it was nice, he wasn't that crazy, and that is the end of this episode. Honestly, it was one of the hardest episodes for me to voice record just because of how many things I had to deal with today, but I'll try not to put my mental problems on you guys. And I'm telling you all of this like I don't know anything, but I know everything because I've seen every single episode. But I'm trying to make it to where like you guys who don't see what I see, like I'm trying to make the recap not just spoiling every single thing because I know exactly what's gonna happen and I know exactly what comes next, but I'm trying to keep the mystery alive for you guys. Right.